Hola amigos, bienvenidos a otro episodio de TECH23. My name is Jose Avalos, I'm your host. You know we talk about Latinos in tech here, but today we got a Boricua in tech.
Hey.
We got our friend Carlos Figarella. Carlos, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey everybody, my name's Carlos, trabajo for Meta, and I work in the future of work, working with augmented, virtual, and mixed reality.
And you've probably heard it named AR, VR. So we're going to talk about all of that today, but we have a very special flag today, la bandera de
Wepa, Puerto Rico!
Carlos, muchísimas gracias por tenernos aquí. We're inside your home office, so let's start off. You got a lot of really cool stuff here.
Always been a big basketball fan, and to me, these are the GOATs. Jordan is 1A, Kobe 1B, if you're asking. I've had the Jordan All-Star Week for a while.
Was that a game worn?
It wasn't. I'd probably have to insure it if it was.
Yeah.
This was cool because I'm a big gamer. Nintendo was my jam.
Yeah.
So that's actually signed by Mike Tyson. I actually launched Fallout 4 VR, which was the first fully ported game from, a 2D console PC to VR. And so all of the developers signed that.
That's awesome.
For us. And then I went to Coastal Carolina University.
Cool.
Got my degree up there. And then lastly, books, man.
I see some really good ones. Say you died tomorrow and you want to tell your friends and families, like, yo, just please read this one book.
I'll give 3. So the first one's The 4 Agreements, Winning the War in Your Mind. That one to me is super powerful of just how to remove negative thoughts, right? They say that on average you have 500 negative thoughts a day. Third one, what to say when you talk to yourself. 85% of the conversation we have is with ourselves. So I focus a lot on like self-help books.
Awesome. Well, I also see you have a lot of tech gadgets around here. One of the big ones we're talking, this is not a sponsored ad yet, is actually the MetaQuest Pro. My first introduction to VR, I still have it because it was special.
Let's go.
was the Google Cardboard.
Yeah.
They were giving these away. This is my first thing, and I lost the rubber band to it, but essentially, it was the ones where you'd put your phone here, close it, and then you would do this. And I thought that was the coolest things ever. So to see this go from what you're holding to this, it's absolutely crazy.
VR has been around since the 70s. Tech really was funded and invigorated by the space race. And then in the 90s is when VR got commercialized. You would see VR caves, you would see VR rides and experiences, but really the fidelity and the experience wasn't there because you just had one aspect of it, which was the visuals, but you needed more of the tech to catch up. Well, then we went to high-powered PCs and laptops, which then could render and visualize the content and not get you sick. A lot of people look at this as just an output device, right? Where it's just showing you content. But it's actually an input device because it's reading your surroundings and adjusting the content to your spatial awareness.
Yeah, you're not kidding. This model right here, after I looked at it in the light a little bit, it's got a ton of cameras all over the place.
I started working in the space in 2016, 2017. At that point, we were getting where PC graphic cards and PC computing was good enough to provide a great experience. So it's just evolved over and over and over. And it's because the chipsets and the technology is accelerating. What's unique about these two headsets is that they're using what's called pancake lenses. The hardware is ergonomically lighter and thinner. You want to make sure that people can wear these headsets for long periods of time without neck strains or other fatigue.
Any fatigue,
What's really cool now is that we're starting to introduce what's called mixed reality, which is that kind of in between virtual reality and augmented reality.
Gotcha.
So mixed reality allows you to bring virtual assets and content into your physical space and be able to interact with it. I work in the future of work. So how do you use this as a general compute device that is not just for gaming, not just for fitness, but also for productivity and for other work-based scenarios?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to try it. Guys, you guys are going to get first time we do a podcast like this, we're actually going to go into the metaverse and we're going to try these on and we'll see you in there.
I'm just sitting here doodling, so.
Let's see.
What's cool is that I'm actually using my desk as a surface. I love the hat, though. Bien vaquero.
Yeah, try to make it a cowboy.
What do you call it? Do you call it vaquero?
Yeah, vaquero, cowboy.
Yeah. You know what we call it?
What?
Jíbaro. Yeah, jíbaro is like you work in the field, like you're doing cowboy shit. So what do you think?
This is cool. Oh, I see what you drew. Nice. Let me check out your office real quick. Okay. Where are we?
Yeah, so this is the Meta Workroom, and this is how we are helping unlock productivity in the metaverse. So what's really cool is that I've got my my desktop in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using the controller as a stylus,
Uh-huh.
and I'm literally able to, when I touch the surface, I'm able to write. I've been doing immersive tech for the last 10 years. And during the pandemic, a lot of software like this was very much in beta. But because of, the lockdowns and everything, we were using these tools internally as a way to communicate and collaborate. And it gave us a sense of presence, a sense of the tools and the capabilities that we need.
Mm-hmm.
I have my desktop that is remotely visualized on my screen in front of me. I can interact with my desktop through Workrooms and pull up files and presentations and do certain things. The desk whiteboard is collaborative, so you can click on that and you'd be able to interact with me on the whiteboard. I can change the room layout. I can do a bunch of different customization features.
Oh, okay. Now, if I got mad, fortunately I can't flip over the table, right?
But what's cool is that you see this space in front of us. So if anyone was joining on 2D and Zoom, they would be broadcasted there. If you're in VR or mixed reality, you would show up in the seats. I work with a lot of manufacturers that manufacture physical goods. Nike's one of our big partners. They use the space to render and visualize products that they're designing. So in the middle, we could pull like an OBJ file and look at, a product that we're designing and creating at scale and be able to mock it up or give feedback real time. Automotive manufacturers are using this as a tool.
Hey, Carlos, did y'all ever play this game?
Which game? Yeah.
Gotcha.
I just saw it. Yeah, because you're using hand tracking, right?
Yes.
Yep. Can you see my hands now?
No, I see them under the desk.
Now
I do.
Yeah, that game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but it has to be like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely we should do more of this. I'm glad we were able to get in here and give exposure to your audience of what's possible, and let's meet in the real world.
In the real world, yeah.
Amigos, we just left the metaverse and now we're in the real world. So now I can. He's
IRL, in real life.
Yes. Y ahorita se le va a salir ya más el español a Carlos, because I know we kind of did it all in English talking tech, and I think the majority of people do that because that's kind of how we learn the technical stuff in English. Sí. We are here at Michy's Chino-Boricua. This is a restaurant that does a blend of Chinese food and Boricua, Puerto Rican food. Can you tell us about the story?
Yes. Yo nací en Puerto Rico. Viví en Puerto Rico hasta que tenía 5 años.
Okay. ¿Qué parte de Puerto Rico?
Yo nací en Bayamón, en San Juan.
Okay.
Mi abuela vivía en Santa Cruz, que es una calle en Bayamón, y los vecinos de al frente eran chinos. Yo siempre pensaba, ¿cómo un chino de tan lejos puede llegar a Puerto Rico? Hay chinos en Puerto Rico y son, tú sabes, primera generación, hablan español. Tú sabes que se dice un chin chin. Dame un chin chin de algo, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Un poco de algo.
So we're learning Puerto Rican lingo. Chin chin es un poquito de...
Dame un poquito de algo. Dame un chin de eso.
Gotcha.
Pero se dice, dame un chin chin de chino.
In Mexican linguistics, whatever you want to call it, chin would be so close to dame un chingo de algo, which means like give me a ton of something. So that's funny that y'all...
it's reverse. Y bueno, la cultura ha crecido, que hay mucho chino, boricua, ¿verdad? Y por eso es un restaurante así.
¿Y cómo se le llama esa blend, like that fusion? Does it have a specific name?
No, chino-boricua.
Well, let's cheers to Chino-Boricua food.
Yeah. Bueno, aquí tenemos una malta.
Malta India. Okay.
Sí, malta es malt, ¿verdad?
Yeah, okay.
Vamos a decirlo,
like
malt.
a malt beverage?
Sí,
okay.
Un malt beverage, pero no tiene fizzy.
You don't know how to do that? No, I'm kidding. I've seen people do that, and I'm like, you're going to bust your teeth open. I would do it on the edge of the table, but they're probably going to get mad.
Una malta en un día bien caliente en Puerto Rico.
All right, so my first Malta. Oh, that's really good. Oh yeah, it's like syrupy, maple pulley, yeah. But without the fizz. Interesting. It still makes you go.
Yeah. La cola champán es una más como soda.
¿Y por qué le dicen champán?
Vas a ver, se ve oscura, pero tiene un sabor un poco más lighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, salud.
Salud.
Oh, it has a root beer smell to it initially.
Yeah. But the taste.
Yeah. And it also it
tastes
has,
like bubblegum.
That's what it is. Right?
It tastes like
so
Big Chew bubblegum.
Okay. Now, because it's so sweet, I see this pairing excellent with some rum.
Oh, yeah. En Puerto Rico se bebe mucho el whisky con agua de coco.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so I want to ask you a really important historical question. Where were you July 13th, 2004? Important date in Puerto Rican history.
So I was probably playing baseball somewhere, but I don't remember the significance of the date.
Well, I did my research, guys. July 13th, 2004, Daddy Yankee releases the song Gasolina.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
What did that mean to Puerto Rico, to you specifically? Yeah. Man, did that turn into, till this day, a global phenomenon.
All right, so you're starting a long story that I'll make it succinct.
Okay.
Yo me mudé de Puerto Rico a los 5 años.
Okay.
Mi papá estaba en el ejército, so vivíamos en varias áreas. Growing up, when I was a teenager, reggaeton got really popular. What happened was that it wasn't like your traditional hip hop or R&B. Like you can go buy it at the Sam Goodies. When we would take trips to Puerto Rico, we would have to go to find it was called Playero mixtapes.
Okay.
Like Playero Volume 42.
Yeah.
And it was Don Chesina, all the guys, right, would hop on it, and it was a big mixtape. And I'd always tell my mom, we gotta stop here. And it would be like a comic book shop, and in the back they would just sell the mixtapes.
I love that.
And
these are people burning CD-ROM.
Yeah.
I used to do that too. I made some money in high school from that.
Absolutely. I was super passionate about reggaeton music. I loved it. As Daddy Yankee and these guys got popular, I just loved it because I saw the grassroots movement.
I love the music. I love to see just Latinos really taking over, to see them now in the American charts and everything, and just seeing everybody really vibe into it. And hearing the music, especially shift over to a Spanglish context, I think is one of the most special things too.
And I love it that my friends love Bad Bunny. They don't know what the hell he's saying, right? But they vibe with it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just, really cool to see that impact and that influence.
Yeah. Ya nos trajeron la comida. Aquí Carlos nos va a decir un poquito más de qué es cada platillo.
De nuevo, esto es Chino-Boricua, hay un fusion que está pasando. Primero tenemos los tostones. Eso es el staple de la comida boricua. Tenemos el mofongo. El mofongo es tradicional. El mofongo es plátano, chicharrones, ajo y diferentes spices. They mash it up y súper lleno de sabor. También tenemos los maduros. Yo me acuerdo ir a casa de abuela a comer maduro con arroz y habichuela. Don José aquí va a comer la carne frita. Y también aquí tenemos el arroz chino con vegetales. El chino boricua le echa las papitas fritas como un side, y con cada orden de papitas tienes que tener el mayo ketchup.
¿Qué es el mayo ketchup?
El mayo ketchup es 50% ketchup, 50% mayonesa.
Not a secret recipe.
No, ningún secreto ahí. Como soy vegano, yo pedí el tofu. La cultura está empezando a embrace
the vegan food.
Yeah.
Probably because of too much manteco.
Yeah.
They just gave us some traditional Puerto Rican rice. This is a staple in every Chinese restaurant I've ever seen, but this is Boricua style.
Yes.
So it's probably extra delicious.
Made with a lot of love.
Yes. All right, you guys trying it. Tostón. I had never tried them with garlic. Oh my God.
Yeah. The garlic butter.
Y vamos a probar el arrocito. This is freaking delicious. So, nunca he probado el mofongo, but I think this is one of the most traditional Puerto Rican kind of things. I've always heard it, people throw down on their mofongo. Now, is this how it's traditionally served?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is very dense. I feel after this meal, you need a really good nap.
Yeah.
What do people get wrong about Puerto Rico? this is from my point of view, living in Houston. You guys are not the predominant Latino group in Texas, but I don't know if I go to the Northeast in New York, you guys let it known. Y'all are. I want to know some common misconceptions, especially you living in Texas now.
First and foremost, Puerto Ricans, Boricuas, we come in all colors, shapes, sizes. You just see a spectrum, and a lot of people assume like, oh, ese un gringo, you know? Then I started speaking Spanish, and they're like, I need to shut up. Another misconception is, there's actually more Puerto Ricans that live outside of Puerto Rico
than inside,
than actually in the island. And it's unfortunate because there's a socio-economic impact reason, right? And then the last piece, that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory.
What is that like? You guys are U.S. citizens to a degree?
Yeah, like we have some benefits, but not the full gamut.
Okay.
And so, born in Puerto Rico, born a U.S. citizen, but as long as you live in Puerto Rico, your vote doesn't count towards some of the things that are happening as a government, as a country.
That's the big one. Okay.
Yeah. And then the other one is that there's a law and there's a section in the law that because it's a territory, everything has to come to mainland and then it gets transferred to Puerto Rico. Logistically, it's really taxing and challenging.
Makes things more expensive.
And it's because it has to touch a U.S. border. So usually everything flows in through the canal and then it has to go to Florida and then it comes back down to Puerto Rico. Same thing with like Amazon and like those things. Like, Amazon, you get next day delivery.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, not the case because in certain situations it has to go to Florida or New York or wherever and then come.
I think that people are going to want to know cómo llegó este boricua, that it looks like me, maybe he's from the same part of the island as I am. How did he make it into tech? Because you're probably one of the first ones to break into that industry from your family.
I was inspired by two of my uncles. I have an uncle, he went to engineering school. After graduate school, he went to the R&D department at UPS.
Didn't know they had an R&D, but that makes sense.
Yeah, and so he's responsible for, don't want to misquote here, but essentially, the scanning tools that they had, like he was in the 80s building out some of that, and his name is on all of the patents. And then my other uncle, who is...
Obviously he's Puerto Rican too, right?
Yeah. He worked in tech. He was always the inspiring uncle. It was always like the rock to push me. How I got into tech, when I graduated college, I graduated in 2009, which the market had just crashed.
Okay. What was your degree?
Business administration with a focus on marketing.
Hey, same.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so graduated college, moved to New York City right afterwards. Thankfully, I had worked at Hard Rock, so they gave me a job. So it's bartending in Times Square. And when I got to New York, I realized that like that dream wasn't just going to be handed to me. I really grinded my way into getting into tech. Yeah. And really, just for your audience, it all started with networking. I would bartend at night, but I would go during the day and do networking events and engage and just meet people. And ultimately, through networking and relationships, I was able to get a very entry-level role in marketing. And then from there, once I broke through, I was like, all right, ain't nothing holding me back. My trajectory, my speed, my angle, everything. And I just broke through.
So if we made a list, what are things that Carlos did that other people weren't doing?
Build community.
Okay.
I started leveraging my alumni association and doing meetups around sporting events or networking events. And eventually, after I strung together 4 or 5 of them, it got the attention of the university, and they offered me to set up an alumni event where the president would fly us.
I see.
Through that, people then saw my value. It led me to gain an opportunity to be a marketing coordinator for Google. And so I was like, all right, cool. I'm in this marketing role. I was a contract worker, but I had the surroundings, right? The environment that I wanted. Yeah. And then from there, it led me to working at HTC. And I worked, I've been able to ride kind of some big waves in tech, right? So I was there right when the 4G smartphone era really started taking off. I managed the Verizon account and I had, always in sales and marketing, right? And then from there, I got an opportunity to work with a marketing agency, and I had a vast majority of clients. One of my clients was Beats. One of them was DeLonghi, which makes coffee and espresso home products. And a few other brands.
Interesting.
And then ultimately, Beats ended up hiring me direct.
Did you ever meet Dr. Dre?
I was always looking forward to meet Dr. Dre, but meeting Jimmy Iovine was really the pinnacle of it all, right? Because he's the mastermind. From there, I thought I had the job of a lifetime. Through that journey, I was able to pick up mentors. My mentor called me one day and was like, hey,
It wasn't Dr. Dre.
It wasn't.
Okay.
But equally as cool.
Yeah.
And he was like, yo, I'm talking to these people, you know them. I was like, yeah, you talking to HTC? And like, yeah, they're getting ready to launch that VR product. And I'm building a team.
Yeah.
You ready? You got to move to Seattle.
Okay.
I was like, all right, dude. Like,
literally all the way across.
no questions asked, just jumped in.
Yeah.
And yeah, almost 10 years later, I'm still in VR. I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I've been in at it since really its inception of going mainstream.
Man. Yeah. Are there other notable Latinos in VR, AR, that maybe we should know about?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna throw a few names out that are prominent. First and foremost, shout out to Dan Nieves, my colleague. He's on the executive engagement team at Meta and does a really good job of presenting to executives and thought leaders the future of work. And Dan Boricua from New York.
Nice.
One to really highlight is Kathy Hackle. Kathy had a background in media. She worked at CNN. Recently, she exited her company. They did an IPO. She's Forbes top 100 women in tech. She's written books. She's really evangelizing for this space and this tech. She and I did some really foundational work early on.
I'm excited for the future of this industry. I'm excited that Latinos are there. Where have you seen being Latino actually really helped you out?
First of all, as you go through life, you build your tribe. Being Boricua is one of my tribes.
Yeah.
Right, so when you go into these rooms and you share these stories and you bond around your background, it really creates quick, meaningful relationships and connection. I'd say I've been on two sides of that coin. The one side is not good, where tech is known to be kind of a bro club, dominated by white males, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been in those rooms where people have used my chameleon of impact to associate me with them, and I've heard racial things that you're just like, oh, that's how you really feel.
Gotcha.
Right? And don't get me wrong, depending on the room and audience, it's one that I either course correct or make a mental note, be like, yo, I need to watch out for this person. Right?
Your emotional intelligence.
Yeah, you got to read the room. And then on the other side, I think where it's helped, when I was at Beats, we did an AT&T summit in Puerto Rico.
That was probably super special for you, right?
Oh,
to be able
it
to go
was
back
huge.
home.
At that point, like just going there, and that was like a real critical moment in my career. Like, look, man, like I'm impacting my culture.
Yeah.
And also because Latinos are so connected to music, and like Beats was that brand back then. You know, we're talking 2016, 2015. Kind of bringing it back to that event. And it was like really cool to, be able to do my presentation in Spanish. It took some practice just to make sure that those
because the technical terms. Yeah. I think the people in Latin America forgive us though, because they're like, hey, at least you can speak both languages.
Yeah, and just like seeing the way people were connecting with me versus like some of my colleagues.
Yes.
And it's just like, oh.
You remind me of that skit, the Key and Peele with Obama?
Yeah, where they're dapping them up. And they're like, yeah. That was 100% it. And it's just you include this in your circle of trust.
For us, like the reason why we're doing TECH23 is because I don't know what to call it yet, but there's that special thing that happens when you go to a networking event and you're there, and we all kind of sometimes have to put this facade of like, okay, I'm at a professional way, I'm at work, right? I'm doing this thing. But then you hear somebody speak Spanish, and you can't help it. You're just like, wait, ¿ontan mis primos? Te saludan de abrazo y beso. So many walls go down immediately just by hearing your language. Yeah. And like I've mentioned this in other episodes, but that saying that's like, when you speak to me in English, you speak to my mind, pero cuando me hablas español, me hablas al corazón. So we wanted to build an environment where all of it is this corazón, the sound, the music, and everything is there. The other thing we're fighting is that, and especially here in the Houston area, being Latino doesn't mean Mexican. I know all of my amigos from Central and South America hate that. They're like, what kind of Mexican are you? We just forget that there's 20-something other countries down there. We make it a priority to like celebrate the other Latinos. Not that Puerto Ricans need any help, I'll say that. You guys are very proud.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring that up because I see that happening in like all the Latino cultures want to distinguish themselves from the other, right? Because we are lumped into this group. My grandmother's Dominican, and so her whole side of the family lives in Santo Domingo. So growing up, I always knew the difference. I always had that contrast. To understand, not that it was good, bad, or whatever. We knew that they had slightly different traditions. I always say this, like I've been fortunate to live as a global citizen my whole life. Born in Puerto Rico, lived in mainland, lived in Europe. visit family in DR. I got family in Spain. Connected.
You got that conquistador look. I can see that. If you had one of those little metal hats.
Yeah.
And the beard, I can see why.
Yeah. You know,
that you were one of the guys. You know, actually now more that I look at you, I'm like, you should. Have you ever dressed like a conquistador for like Halloween or something?
No, I can pull that off. But to the point I made earlier, the chameleon aspect. When I go to the Middle East, they ask me if I'm Middle East. I was in New York. Like the Jewish community asked me, "Are you?
I
you
see
Jewish?"
that too. Yeah.
Right. I've been able to blend. It's been a survival technique for me. I went to 7 schools in 12 years, so I've always had to adapt and
quickly too.
And that's where what I thought was a hindrance growing up is actually a superpower, right?
What is the deal with Boricuas and the boxing gloves in their car?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Look, there's boxing gloves right there.
I saw them. I saw them.
We're very prideful.
No me había dado cuenta. It's not like you guys have a whole freaking parade.
So those really got popular because of Tito Trinidad. So in the 90s, Tito Trinidad was world champion.
Yeah.
We would always hang the boxing gloves, the flag, or at one point there was dice with Puerto Rican flags on it.
The prominent one is the boxing gloves. It's like, I'm walking through the parking lot, I'm like, there you go.
And listen, during like Latino Heritage Month, dude, people pop up out the woodwork selling these things. You know, they're just like,
make your money.
Yeah. Like, yo, I got these boxing gloves. You can hang over here. Like, need those?
So have you been to the Puerto Rican festival?
The Puerto Rican Day Parade?
Yeah, Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Tell me about that.
If you're Latino in general, you have to go.
Gotcha.
Right? If you're Puerto Rican, it's essentially your pilgrimage. And so you have to go. It happens in Manhattan, but the Bronx is there. You know, like the whole Bronx is in Manhattan for the day. So you wear your bandanas, you wear your hoodies, like everything, right? I remember in like 2001, I got the Air Force Ones with the Puerto Rican flag on them. Oh man, I thought like those were it. I'll tell you a fun fact. In the 60s, my uncle growing up, he was in a salsa band. You know, salsa blew up in New York, right? But he was in Puerto Rico at the time, and he was like one of the top 3 bands.
Oh, what?
Right?
So what was your band called?
La Cooperación Latina.
Wow.
They beat El Gran Combo in a lot of the festivals.
So, wait, so there's like a battle of the bands feature to it?
Yeah.
Cool.
He ended up like touring globally. He ended up doing like 3 records with them. And so anyways, like a lot of salsa aspect of the music tied back to my family because his best friend growing up was Tito Rojas.
Okay.
And so Tito Rojas was like the man.
Yeah.
When we lived in Germany, a lot of salsa is played in Germany. I don't know why. Germans love salsa.
Okay.
And so Tito Rojas, when we lived out there, was touring, and my parents had to go see him and hung out with him. And the point is that music is something that Puerto Rico has been able to give the world.
We always end it with some really good advice for somebody that today wants to get into the
like
immersive
spatial computing,
spatial computing,
immersive tech space. I always say there's 2 routes. One is the business side of it, building strategy, marketing, sales, operations, and those are really focusing on just building up more soft skills and specific skill sets. But if you are a technical role, right, learning Unity, Unreal, and understanding immersive spatial computing, there's an opportunity for creators to jump into this space and create custom environments, bringing physical assets and providing a digital asset of it so that people can utilize it or understand how to leverage it. If you're on the business side, definitely continue to build up your skill sets, learn about the industry network. If you're on the technical side, definitely learn how to code in Unity, Unreal. There's a few other platforms that can help, right? And there's even like boot camps and kind of quick courses to get involved. And then from there, really it's get certifications, reach out to startups. There's a lot of startups that are looking for either front-end, back-end developers, graphic designers, those skill sets. And you're gonna see this continuously iterate. Over the next 10 years, this technology, especially augmented reality, will begin to replace our phones.
I believe that.
So if you're already a mobile developer, right, then just build off of that.
Okay. Carlos, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This is one of my favorite episodes to do. La comida estaba increíble. Guys, if you want to reach out to Carlos, he is an awesome human being. Besides being a Latino in tech and all that, very kind-hearted person, very knowledgeable, and till this point, we've only known each other less than a year. He hasn't said no to anything we've asked, and I'm very grateful for you, Carlos. For the people that would like to connect with you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Threads, at Carlitos _.
He has to plug in all the meta stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. LinkedIn, reach out to me there. Lots more to talk about.
Yeah.
I've got startups, businesses, just a bunch of things that I'm doing, and just trying to build a community.
Amigos, este fue otro episodio de TECH23. Como saben, hoy fue de Puerto Rico. TECH23, follow us, subscribe, come to our events, or si nomás quieren comunidad, aquí estamos. TECH23 es un lugar para latinos con ganas de aprender, crecer y divertirse. Hasta la próxima.
Wepa.
I noticed that you guys didn't get the Puerto Rican fried rice. I wanted you guys to try it. I know you're vegetarian.
Yeah.
So
But I am not.
you can try it. I know.
Mi hermano.
There you go.
Thank you.
Mira
This
este
looks like
logo.
delicious.
Yeah.
¿Qué haces?
This is kind of like an interpretation of fried rice, how it's made in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
That's so funny. My barber's here.
Oh, no.
Enjoy, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much.